Hi, my name is Paul Kraemer. I am the Vice President of Commercial Sales with the Star Group. I hold several designations. I'm a certified insurance counselor, a certified risk manager, as well as a construction risk insurance specialist. Actually, going back to the beginning and why I'm here, I grew up on a dairy farm as the only boy of 7 kids. That's right. I have 6 sisters. In my second week of kindergarten, I made a conscious decision that I wasn't going to college. Pretty defined for that time, and I stuck with it all the way through school. When I graduated from high school, I thought, that is the last exam I'm ever going to have to take. But I wasn't ready to start farming. You know, again, my parents had wanted me to be a farmer. They never coached me to go to college. A friend, close friend of the family, talked to me right around the time I was getting out of high school, and she said, you know, if you're not going to go to college, you need to get out of here. You need to get out of this small town, get off the farm, go live somewhere else for a while and see what life has to offer. So I took her advice, and actually a friend and I ended up moving to LA. We moved to Los Angeles. It was the fall of 1979. It was actually during the Iran hostage crisis, and we literally could not get a job doing anything. We actually answered an ad in a paper and ended up selling encyclopedias door to door. Was never the intention to do that, but it was quite the experience. You know, we traveled up and down the West Coast, all over LA. We were in Phoenix, we were in Las Vegas, San Francisco. A really neat experience as an 18-year-old to see life in that way. Great experience from a sales standpoint. Certainly pick up on how to deal with call rejection. People, you know, oftentimes are slamming the door in your face, but after that, we moved back to Wisconsin, and I actually took on another sales position. I became a livestock nutrition and management consultant for a company out of Minnesota, which meant I was consulting with dairy farmers to help them balance the nutrition for their cows to get maximum milk production. It actually had some success with that. We were able to really generate some very measurable increases, and after a couple years, that company kind of took a different turn, and I came back to the question of farming, and I thought, with what I learned doing this, you know, if I'm ever going to buy into the farm, now's the time to do it. So I did, and you know, bought in. I ran the farm for a couple years. I actually loved working in the fields. But at the same time, I hated milking cows. It was a struggle, and you know, during that time when I was farming, my sister married Tim Starr of the Star Group. Actually, his dad was the founder, and in talking with Bob was impressed that I had sold encyclopedias door to door. He had actually, early in his career, had done some book selling door to door, and he said, you know, if you can do that, you could certainly sell insurance. If you ever want to, you know, come into the business, we'll hold an office for you. And I didn't think much of it at the time. Again, I was a dairy farmer. But a couple years into that, I just became, you know, projecting it out. I didn't like where that was going. I wasn't married. I didn't have 4 boys growing up in the business to be my future workforce, and you know, my faith in God just said, there's something bigger for you out there. So I had to have the hardest conversation I've ever had with my dad. Literally tell him that I didn't want to farm anymore, and it was hard. He took it hard. It actually took us a while to get over it, but we have. And at 24, I went to college. Again, having never planned on doing that. Wasn't even sure what I was going to college for, but I thought it's going to give me a new direction. So I went after my freshman year. I said, hey, I can do this. When I got out, I came down to Milwaukee into the Star Group and said, hey, I'm here. And they said, whoa, easy. We're not ready to hire you yet. And I'm like, well, you know, what do you mean? And they said, well, we want you to get a job with a direct writer so that they can train you for 1.5 years, 2 years. All right. So when I started with AllState, at that time they were owned by Sears, and I ended up manning a booth in the Sears store at Bayshore Mall. The most commonly asked question was, could you tell me where the bathroom is? After 9 months of that, I needed to get out, and Star was willing to bring me in and let me start my career here. Over the years, I have developed, I call it a 4-point system that actually helps me identify worthwhile opportunities. I need to determine that I can bring meaningful value to a business. And by meaningful value, that means from a coverage standpoint, from a risk reduction standpoint. If we're not able to do that, that's a short-term relationship at best. The second point that I defined is that I need to determine if we would be a good fit for each other. In doing this, I'm actually protecting my service team because they are a well-oiled machine. They're the ones that make us shine with our customers because they do such a phenomenal job. If those two things are present, then it's really just rotating the table and allowing the prospect to make a determination from their seat if we're able to bring meaningful value to them. If we're good on that point, then I ask them to make the determination if they feel that we're a good fit for them for the very same reasons as I mentioned earlier. If those four things are present, we have a rock-solid foundation for a long-term relationship. With that, we've been able to build a very successful agency that has very strong relationships. I have client relationships that are over 25 years. So 29 years into my career here with the Star Group, I'm still here. And the reason I'm here is the leadership here is so strong. They're community focused. They really value their employees and they invest in their employees. What's not to like about that? I love it here. I love working with clients. We've developed some very strong relationships because there's mutual like, trust, and respect. Why go anywhere else?